I remember playing on Tau Street in Soweto in 1976. I was 12 years old at the time. I even remember the first time I heard your name, Tsietsi Mashinini. It was on everyone's lips. But then suddenly, you disappeared. You stepped out of history. What happened to you?
The black student in South Africa is being fed the type of education that will domesticate him to become a better tool for the white man when he joins the working community.
Tsietsi's real name is Tebogo Donald Mashinini. Tsietsi means trouble, and he was associated with trouble.
The system has done so many things and so much harm to my people that the people are no longer interested in having equal rights with the white people in South Africa. They want the tables to be turned so that the white man can get a taste of his own medicine and feel what it was like to be oppressed. The only type of communication I saw was just bullets and tear gas. I know for a fact that there were more than 300 people who were dead. I could not believe it. We blacks in South Africa do not have arms. The only thing we can hit at the system with is just to cripple the economy of the country. But in the very near future, we will be what we want to be.
I knew him as a budding photographer. He used to carry a camera a lot, and I was a journalist. So he used to try and get me to use his pictures, you know what I mean? If you are going to go out on a story, tell me, I'll go with you, I'll take pictures. And he was a groovy kind of little guy, yeah?
He was very, very close to me. He was very, very close to me. Mom Kate, any difference in your house when she washes the curtains? Look around, look around. Narata was ho. Look around, look. I can't see anything. Look at your curtains, man. They are clean. Oh, thank you, boy. Just like that. That was the life that we used to have.
For me, you know, Tsietsi is still that 17, 18-year-old boy who stood against the system here, who stood on top of that caterpillar and addressed students, and who really traveled the world.
During that time, phones, our phones were ringing incessantly, between ourselves, those South Africans who were in London, those who were in New York or Chicago, and there were all kinds of rumors and stories and so on.
Abantwana is bekhula, abanye ngithi bangena icrash. He would take them every morning to the crash and every afternoon back home on a bicycle. Beba paper nje, and then as a again. bicycle.
One name kept cropping up. There was this young man, Tsietsi Mashinini, Tsietsi Mashinini, that the police were looking for this young man. He was like one of the ringleaders, of the youngsters, Tsietsi Mashinini.
When you're trying to address a lot of people, and then some are still talking, and some, and he stood up and said, "You shut up, you sellouts," something like that. And there was quietness, There was quietness, and I thought, he had that thing in him. He had that charisma, he had dignity.
Gane a gola, o na batla go ba a lawyer. But he could see that it will not happen because of poverty.
The youth spearheaded a revolution that led to the independence of this country. As long as we have a government that is scared up to the core of recognizing the fact that South Africa was liberated by a youth leader, Tsietsi Mashinini, at the age of 19, South Africans, we should know that we're telling lies.
There's nothing ordinary about a family with 13 kids. From that only, it just tells you we are a special family. I mean, there's 13 of us. 13 kids.
Ordinary is boring. No one wished for that. I mean, we were always seen as, I don't want to say special, but there was something out of the ordinary about our family. The three of us are only just familiar with the legacy more than the man himself. I've never seen the man in my life.
Realistically, looking at what you are up against, is it not a possibility somewhere in the back of your mind that this might be a futile struggle?
I don't think so. Whatever happens, the black people shall achieve what they want. We are aware that it is a long struggle, but in the very near future, we will be what we want to be.
Tsietsi was a tiny tot, was a very, very tiny but tall, with bell bottoms. I was surprised really. Why did they choose him? And I even said to him one time, Tsietsi, these people are going to kill you. The system is going to kill you. And he said, I wish I could see my funeral.
I was old. 11-year-old, I'm chief mourner at Tsietsi Mashinini's funeral. Nicely kitted, podium moment. Half of Soweto is there, 90% they said, is there. I'm chief mourner, I'm not with the crowds, I'm VIP, There was poetry read there. We had like what, 2-3 services or something. There was a church service, there was a stadium service, there was another service at some point, which I can't really recall now.
Personally, I'm very happy to have known Tsietsi. And to some extent feel guilty that we were not around all the time. In the absence of his own parents, to assist him to grow up, to assist him to persist along the path that he had chosen. I think when we lay him to rest later today, it will be a moment when all of us should, in his memory, commit ourselves
When you returned in a coffin in 1990, you were given a big funeral. But what did our president mean when he talked about guilt? What have we done? What have we done? Why is it that today, 16 years after your death, you are almost forgotten?
Heroes are not born, but a product of struggles. These words could have been written with Tsietsi Mashinini in mind. It was not unforeseen that Tsietsi and his peers ended up being what they were, a group of students whose eyes opened to the injustices of the educational system and the social order. Let our liberal white friends write what they will about the events of June 16.
Sometimes things happen. You know, I never cried, like screaming. I was sitting there and I opened a radio because I wanted to hear it from the radio, because somebody had told me that it's being announced in the radio. I softly opened the radio and I listened. That is when I heard it there. That is when I started crying. But even then, I didn't cry. I didn't scream.
And he died in that faraway country I've never heard of. You know, it was not as to how he died at that moment. We were now desperately making arrangements to get him back into the country for burial.
Tsitsi's death were told by Miriam Makeba. She first, she told us a week before he died and said, come up. Tsietsi is very, very sick with AIDS. We suspect AIDS. And we couldn't go there. We thought, how?
Makeba had adopted Tsietsi as her son in exile. I wanted to talk to Miriam Makeba about you, the closest person to you, but she refused. She wouldn't even give me a reason.
Obviously, we also heard that the people that were with Tsietsi were connected to Miriam Makeba, and we went to Miriam Makeba's house. She was back in the country at that time. We went to her house, and we didn't find joy.
So in the end, the coffin arrives, and you know, we're not allowed to open up the coffin at the airport because it carries the message that died of deadly disease. Do not open the coffin or something like that.
He came in a steel coffin, and we spent quite a lot of time cutting through it, and eventually got his body out. I mean, when I looked at Tsietsi there, it had been so long since I saw him, you know, and I saw a wounded and injured man. Contrary to reports that he died of HIV/AIDS.
We found wounds that are still bleeding. We found, you know, beating marks on the feet and on the chest. We found the one eye is no longer there.
And we immediately accepted as a family that Tsietsi did not die of natural causes. He was actually murdered.
Like any hospital, they have your file. The file was missing. It was there, but it is missing.
Other thing also is this, that one of the journalists in this country was working for the Sowetan, picked up a phone after it rang, and somebody there said that Tsietsi Mashinini had been killed by one of the liberation organizations here. He tried to trace the phone, but then it got cut somehow.
And the next thing we heard was that Tsietsi died. Died mysteriously. I can talk about that, but he died mysteriously.
There's a spider web of liars around the area where Tsietsi died, around the house where he stayed before he died, around the people who stayed with him. But we are a family in pain about Tsietsi's death, about Tsietsi's mysterious death. It's been 30 years since June 16 this year. It's the same pain that started on June 16, is now compounded by a whole lot of things, including his mysterious death.
"14 years in exile. You met world leaders, addressed the United Nations, organized military training for the comrades. Thabo Mbeki tried to recruit you to the ANC, but you wouldn't follow him. You walked your own path."
Why does Tsietsi, when it is possible to come home and chant that chant which he made at Sizwe Stores in 1976, June 16, Black Power, why does he come in the manner in which he is coming?
I would say Tsietsi was a young, ambitious, visionary man who was thrown into a leadership position at a very tender age. And he took that leadership with both hands.
He could run circles around the police looking for him, and he would pop out in front of them and address students and disappear before they arrest him.
You are involved with a person who is very, very serious at school, who is a highly intelligent person, who wants his time to study in this house that's packed with people that doesn't even have space for anybody to sit and read in the night. Because when you go to bed, you actually disassemble the whole furniture for everybody to manage to go to bed, and then in the morning it's assembled again.
And the person also in country, give me work. So I used to say, "Ay, lamantana lento yabo lena bayithathe kumama." I know the books he was reading, and I know the books that boys stole from my mother's place.
Tsietsi was a guy who was a guy who wanted to win all the time, in anything, debate, whatever play we play. He wanted to be the person, what I'm winning, and he used to strive hard to win.
He never had a match. I think he was one of those who, when it was known that we debate with him, you have lost.
I actually started really discussing politics under the cloak of a dancing school, doing dancing. But what was happening really was going through political lessons.
We had our own initiative and were able to write our own poetry that related to our lives. We stopped writing about flowers and clouds and the other things which were not having any relevance and meaning to us, we started addressing the problem that black men, you are on your own.
No, nobody was referring to Donald Mashinini. It was Tsietsi Mashinini. It was Khotso, Seahlulo. It was suddenly people were owning up to their names, which were not. It wasn't the normal thing. I mean, you had to have a Christian name.
But the mobilization, the politicization, and the conscientization through black consciousness readied us for the greater task ahead. That there is no way we can engage the South African government system when we undermined ourselves and we did not believe in ourselves. So we needed a dose